According to Bernard Lewis, Arab Muslims' conquests have been variously seen in Iran, by some as a blessing, the advent of the true faith, the end of the age of ignorance and heathenism, by others as a humiliating national defeat, the conquest and subjugation of the country by foreign invaders. Both perceptions are of course valid, depending on one's angle of vision. Iran was indeed Islamized, but it was not Arabized. Persians remained Persians. And after an interval of silence, Iran re-emerged as a separate, different, and distinctive element within Islam, eventually adding a new element even to Islam itself. Culturally, politically, and most remarkable of all even religiously, the Iranian contribution to this new Islamic civilization is of immense importance. The work of Iranians can be seen in every field of cultural endeavor, including Arabic poetry, to which poets of Iranian origin composing their poems in Arabic made a very significant contribution. In a sense, Iranian Islam is a second advent of Islam itself, a new Islam sometimes referred to as Islam-i Ajam. It was this Persian Islam, rather than the original Arab Islam, that was brought to new areas and new peoples, to the Turks, first in Central Asia and then in the Middle East in the country which came to be called Turkey, and of course to India. The Ottoman Turks brought a form of Iranian civilization to the walls of Vienna. Administration. Under Umar and his immediate successors, the Arab conquerors attempted to maintain their political and cultural cohesion despite the attractions of the civilizations they had conquered. The Arabs initially settled in the garrison towns rather than on scattered estates. The new non-Muslim subjects were protected by the state and known as dhimmi, meaning protected, and were to pay a special tax, the jizya, tribute, which was calculated per individual at varying rates, usually 2 dirhams for able-bodied men of military age, in return for their exemption from military services. Women and children were exempted from the jizya. Mass conversions were neither desired nor allowed, at least in the first few centuries of Arab rule. Caliph Umar had liberal policies towards dhimmis. These policies were adopted to make the conquered less prone to rise up against their new masters and thus making them more receptive to Arab colonization, as it for the time being gave them release from the intolerable social inferiority system of the old Sassanid regime. Umar is reported to have issued the following instructions about the protected people. Make it easy for him, who cannot pay tribute, help him who is weak, let them keep their titles, but do not give them arkuniyat, Arabic traditional nicknames or titles. Umar's liberal policies were continued by at least his immediate successors. In his dying charge to his successor he is reported to have said, I charge the Caliph after me to be kind to the dhimmis, to keep their covenant, to protect them and not to burden them over their strength. Practically the jizya replaced poll taxes imposed by the Sassanids, which tended to be much higher than the jizya. In addition to the jizya, the old Sassanid land tax, known in Arabic as kharaj, was also adopted. Caliph Umar is said to have occasionally set up a commission to survey the taxes in order to check that they wouldn't be more than the land could bear. It is narrated that Zoroastrians were subjected to humiliation and ridicule when paying the jizya in order to make them feel inferior. For at least under Rashiduns and early Umayyads, the administrative system of the late Sassanid period was largely retained. This was a pyramidal system where each quarter of the state was divided into provinces, the provinces into districts, and the districts into sub-districts. Provinces were called Ustan, Middle Persian Ostan, the districts Shars, centered upon a district capital known as Sharistan. The sub-districts were called Tasok in Middle Persian, which was adopted as Tasuj, plural Tasasuj, into Arabic. Religion. After the Muslim conquest of Persia, Zoroastrians were given dhimmi status and subjected to persecutions. Discrimination and harassment began in the form of sparse violence. Zoroastrians were made to pay an extra tax called jizya, failing which they were either killed, enslaved, or imprisoned. Those paying jizya were subjected to insults and humiliation by the tax collectors. Zoroastrians who were captured as slaves in wars were given their freedom if they converted to Islam. Muslim leaders in their effort to win converts encouraged attendance at Muslim prayer with promises of money and allowed the Quran to be recited in Persian instead of Arabic so that it would be intelligible to all. Islam was readily accepted by Zoroastrians who were employed in industrial and artisan positions because, according to Zoroastrian dogma, such occupations that involved defiling fire made them impure. Moreover, Muslim missionaries did not encounter difficulty in explaining Islamic tenets to Zoroastrians, as there were many similarities between the faiths. According to Thomas Walker Arnold, for the Persian, he would meet Ahura Mazda and Ahriman under the names of Allah and Ibli. In Afghanistan, Islam was spread due to Umayyad missionary efforts, particularly under the reign of Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik and Umar ibn Abdulaziz. There were also large and thriving Christian and Jewish communities, along with smaller numbers of Buddhists and other groups. However, there was a slow but steady movement of the population towards Islam. The nobility and city dwellers were the first to convert. Islam spread more slowly among the peasantry and the Dickens, or landed gentry. By the late 10th century, the majority of the Persians had become Muslim. Until the 15th century, most Persian Muslims were Sunni Muslims, though today Iran is known as a stronghold of the Shia Muslim faith, recognizing Islam as their religion and the Prophet's son-in-law, Ali, as an enduring symbol of justice. According to Amoretti in Cambridge History of Islam, the conquestors brought with them a new religion and a new language, but they did not use force to spread it. While giving freedom of choice, however, the conquestors designated privileges for those who converted.